All right. Well, here we are bringing in the new year 2024 with James Lawrence. James, we're so excited to have you here with us today.
Awesome. Happy New Year, Scott and Megan. Happy to be here as well.
Yeah, well, starting off the new year, I guess, a lot of people they do have their New Year's resolutions and or mantras or anything that they want to change. Do you happen to have any New Year's resolutions or traditions or any sort of mantra that you set for the year?
Yeah, my controversial, but I don't do New Year's resolutions. I think they're trash. I think so few people stick to them. They're pointless. I set goals and make adjustments every single day as I'm progressing through the year. And in fact, if I do set like big goals and resolutions, it's like end of October, so that it gets me through Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, keeps me on track going into the new year with momentum. I'm 3 months ahead of everybody every single year.
Love that.
Uh, and that's just the way you have to operate. You want to be the best of the best. You want to be the top of your field. You just got to find every advantage you can. And everybody like slides through the holidays, and then they're like, okay, I'm all fired up. Especially this year, it's a Monday. It's the first of the year. Like it's the perfect starting point, dude. I started 3 months ago. Let's go.
I love that.
Yeah, starting off with the truths and not the ones that everyone wants to hear. So that's a wonderful thing. I'm a big fan of that as well. I've never done a New Year's resolution, and besides one, and it was a year-long resolution as well. And I did it, and I ended up doing it for 10 years. So it just kind of continued on and stuff. So
That's super cool. One thing that I do that sets me up for success is I'm sure you guys are familiar with Jesse Itzler. He's got the Big Ass Calendar Club. And it's just a massive calendar, 1 month in an entire row. And then you got these little post-it stickies, and you can plan out your entire year, prioritize what's important. And if I did have a goal this year, it'd be to do less and to be more present with my family. And so by scheduling those things in advance, it gives me that opportunity. It's already blocked off on the calendar. I've got all the spring breaks, the fall breaks, stuff with my kids, important dates with my wife, things that I want to do, important family vacations. Those go on the calendar first, and then I build around it. My races come next, then my speaking, then anything on top of that, experiences that I want to have. And so if I do anything at the turn of the year, the last week of the year, I look at that whole big calendar. I can see it 1,000-foot view, and then I start placing and booking things out, and then I build upon that the entire year. But my goals are set continually all the time, self-reflecting, adjusting as we go.
Yeah, you got to start with the macro goal setting, and you have to have the big picture before you can really fill in the gaps with the little smaller goals along the way. So I like that. You got to get the good big picture first.
Yeah, and I think the reason people fail in New Year's resolutions is because they just like, okay, this year I'm going to do it. I'm going to be perfect, and they put 20 things on things they're going to change. And I'm like, okay, let's just pick 12, and then let's just do one a month. And then as you do it, and by the end of the year, you've gotten proficient in 12 new skill sets or 12 things that you wanted to do, or break it into 3 months and add onto your difficulty as you progress through that. The reason people fail is because they try to go too big too early, and they do macro, and then they don't micro it along the way. And that's why along the entire process, okay, great, set up your big macro goals, but really it's about those incremental steps along the way. And if you can set those up appropriately, you shouldn't have a hard time hitting your goals. In fact, one of my big mantras is day one, right? Because everybody is knocking it out of the park today on day one. Everybody's nailing their New Year's resolutions. We're going to call it 5% that are just losers anyway. They're not going to do it. But the other 95%, they get it right on day one. So wake up tomorrow, and guess what? It's day one. And so if you wake up every single day with the mentality of it's day one, because if you could do it one day, why not do it? And then you just have to ask yourself, what would my life look like if I did day one for 365 days? What would it really look like? Go to that moment and then feel what that feels like, right? Because now if you're feeling that moment, now you've got an emotion tied to that goal, and treat every damn day like it's the first day. Because guess what? 95%. Did you guys nail your goals today?
actually, we did.
We did.
You did, right?
We did. We nailed our goals today. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. And so tomorrow, wake up and pretend It's January 1st on a Monday. And guess what? You'll do it again. And if you can have that mentality every single day and attach the emotion, the feeling of what that'll feel like in 365 days, oh, now you've got yourself a winning recipe.
No, absolutely. So here we have the Iron Cowboy with us. We're excited, James Lawrence. You've been building pyramids for years. How did this start? When do you really remember this long-term sight picture of goal setting in your athletic career? What started you at a younger age?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up an athlete. I have three sisters, no brothers. Um, I would challenge my parents to both name five athletes. I don't think they could. And so I came from this environment of like non-athletics, and so I gravitated towards it, and so it became my family at school. Was my coaches and was my teammates and was sport. It's what I did. I played every single sport I could imagine. I totally diversified. Like whatever season it was, that's what I was playing. I was on that team. Basketball, volleyball, badminton, track and field, whatever it was, I was doing it. And it made me a really well-rounded athlete. And then I started to like specialize once I got into high school, and I gravitated towards wrestling. And wrestled at a high level for my entire high school year. Wrestled a couple years afterwards, then got injured, and long story, but found my way to the United States, found my wife, got married, and she was into running, so started running. We loved going to the gym together. And really this whole journey over the past 15 years of endurance started with a simple 4 mile fun run. That my wife said, "Hey, it's Thanksgiving. It's 4 miles. We should go do it." And I was like, "That's stupid. Nobody runs for fun. That's a lie. There's no such thing as a runner's high. All that's bullshit." And so yeah, we went and did a turkey trot, and I had a terrible experience. I mean, I still put up a decent time, but for like I felt terrible. Like the runners coughing up a lung afterwards. And my wife was like, "Hey, we're going to do the Salt Lake City Marathon. It's in 4 months. I just signed you up." And I was like, "Oh, good gracious. All right, here we go." And had a negative experience there. And then just really said, okay, look, a lot of people love running. And I got to figure out why I'm rejecting this. Like, why isn't it working for me? And I had a friend who was big into triathlon. It was right during Lance Armstrong's heyday. And he's like, "Hey, it's the final day of the Tour de France." I'm like, "What's that?" And he's like, "Just like come watch it." So he had this like party, and I watched Lance, and there was this like ton of excitement and energy around it. And then he's like, "Hey, I do this thing called triathlon. You should come do one with me." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know how to swim. I don't own a bike." And he's like, "It'll be fine. We'll find you one. You can learn how to swim. I'll teach you." And I'm like, "Okay, great." And that really is what started my entire journey. And I just fell in love with the sport and the community. And then as the sequence of events goes, I was watching TV. And back then it was a big NBC broadcast every year of the Kona Ironman World Championships. And again, same friend invited me over. He says, "Hey, they're broadcasting the World Championships for Ironman." I'm like, "What's an Ironman?" Like, I don't know. And so he's like, "Okay, it's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, finishes a full marathon run. It's the hardest endurance sport in a single day." And I was like, "Wow, that sounds amazing. I want to watch that." So I watched it, and I was like, "I just want to do one of those." Like that's as big as I could think. And then that kind of just started the journey of like dreaming big and setting that goal. And it was just one. And then as the story goes, it got out of hand a little bit.
Well, yeah. And so just to share it with our listeners who may not know the extent to what you've accomplished, you are a two-time world record holder in 2015. And correct me if I'm wrong, you set the world record for the most Ironman distance triathlons completed in 1 year. And you did that across 50 states. And then in 20, oh, nope.
Nope.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Well, thank you for correcting me.
Yes, no, it's totally fine. We've done a lot. So 2010, we broke the world record for the most half Ironmans done in a year. That was for me to gain knowledge and experience. And then I looked at the world record for Ironmans, official events, and the number was 20. It was set by a gentleman in Belgium. And I was like, okay, 20 doesn't scare me. 21 doesn't intrigue me. I think I can do 30. And so I looked at the calendar, and I tried to figure it all out. And I could do 30 events, and it was going to take me through 11 countries. And I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. And so I ended up doing 30 events through 11 countries in 2012, which was an official Guinness World Record. So 2010, 2012, both world records.
Wow.
And then that's, you know, when you're talking about like macro goals, big goals, it's so hard to see what's possible if we're just sitting at home on our couch. But as we're showing up and we're participating and we're engaging, we are changing as a human. Our mind is changing, our body's changing, our belief system is changing. And because of that, while we're in the process of breaking records and doing and experiencing, all of a sudden more becomes possible. And I now have a philosophy of being game ready, because we have no idea when our belief system will shift based on our experiences and knowledge. And all of a sudden we finished that world record in 2012. And I was like, I'm capable of so much more. That's not even that's not even like breaking the ice of what I believe is possible. And so I was really starting to look at the endurance space and what's happening and who are the guys that are leading this space. And at the time, it was a guy named Dean Karnassus, and he's an ultra runner, and he did 50 marathons in 50 days in 50 states. And it like totally set him up as a career in terms of like coaching and speaking and an author. And I was like, oh man, I'm doing coaching right now. I need a way to separate myself from the competition. That's why we did those 2 world records. And then I was like, if he did that with marathons and it had that impact, what would happen if we pulled that off with an Ironman? And so I went to Walmart, I bought the biggest map I could. I had 5 little kids at the time, and I sat them all down and I was like, hey, this is the United States of America. And these are all the really cool places we can go and see. What if we did all 50 states in one summer? Because they didn't really understand what it would mean to do an Ironman every single day. I mean, they're ages 5 to 11. And so I was just like, look, we'll do something really cool every single day. It'll be a summer vacation. Dad will do a race every day. And so we just started going down the path of putting the logistics together of doing 50 Ironmans, 50 days in 50 states. And chaos ensued. And just trying to figure out, I mean, we averaged less than 4 hours of sleep a night. I had to consume 10 to 12,000 calories a day. You're talking about doing a 14-hour event, 12 to 14-hour event every single day, and then getting to the next state, new environment, new people, and doing it all over again. It was chaos every single day, minute to minute. And looking back, I mean, we're just like, how on earth did we even pull that off with 5 little kids and new environment, new people every single day? It literally was chaos. And it was just, now it's so fun looking back on it, just like, what were we thinking?
Yeah, that is insane. And then was it this challenge, or was it in 2021 where day 6 or something, you got a shoulder injury? And then I read something that you had to swim with one arm or something like that.
Yeah, so that was during the 50. During the 50, we're in California. It was an open water swim. I had a previous injury from wrestling with my shoulder that I had surgery on, but just the training leading up to the 50 and then the volume, I'd never done 5 consecutive days of 2.4 miles of swimming, in the aero position, everything that was around it, little sleep, no recovery time. So on day number 5 in California, Santa Cruz, I tore my shoulder while I was swimming. And day 6, day 7, day 8, I was just like, this is a one-armed effort. Like I am not, I have to figure out how to navigate this. And that was really the first time I realized, like, I have an ability to manage pain. And for me, I recognized that pain would get to a certain level and it really wouldn't get any worse. And so I recognized, okay, if I can manage that, then my mind will adapt to that level and that will become the new normal. And that became my mentality. And I was like, look, I can get this thing fixed afterwards. There's not an opportunity to get it fixed now. I can manage this level of pain, and let's just keep trying to navigate the cards that we are currently dealt with and try to figure the things out. And so I just started back swimming with 2 arms, and it was the most painful, hour 20 of every single day. But I recognize that this is the peak. This is as bad as it's going to be. And if I can manage that, it's only going to be for a certain amount of time, and then I can get reprieve, and then I just have to manage that for an hour and 15 the next day.
Well, that mentality has to serve you well in an environment like that, where you're going, back-to-back days for 50 days straight doing Ironman triathlons. You're going to be enduring some sort of pain. So you're going to have to learn how to handle that pain. Yeah, that is impressive.
So I do, I just want to go back before we get to the final goals and everything. When did you and have you started to enjoy running yet?
Great question. I what an incredible timing for that question, because this is the first time in my life. So we're going to talk about the Conquer 100, which was 100 consecutive Ironmans. We're going to talk about the in. We'll say this before we get there. There was a unique opportunity for the Conquer 100 to happen, and it was because of the pandemic, and it was 5 years removed from the peak version of myself physically. And so I literally trained for the Conquer 100 for 4 months. I was not ready to start, but I had sponsorship commitments. There was a small window, and I was like, this is my opportunity. And based on my previous knowledge and experience, I was like, okay, I'm going to use the first 50 days of the Conquer 100 as a training block, and then I'll use the back half to really showcase.
Wow.
Well, by day 5, I had an ankle injury that swelled up into my shins. I had incredible inflammations. I was developing 2 stress fractures, literally staring down the barrel of 95 more to go and going, well, now what? Okay, so fast forward to after the Conquer 100, ankle surgery, repair that damage. Was never going to run again, ever. And 3 years removed from the 100, there was some brain complications, which we can get into. I had to reset the neurological pathways of my brain. I broke my back on day 59 when I crashed, and so my brain thought I was still crashing, and I had to recalibrate my my spatial awareness. So all these things were happening. It took me 2.5 years to recover fully from the 100, and I'm now determined to conquer running. And I wake up every single day now, and it's the first thing I do, and I'm rebuilding that base. And I do 6 miles every single morning now, and I do them at a very pedestrian pace. If you were to go to my Strava right now, you'd be like, "This is not the Iron Cowboy." But I'm rebuilding, and I'm getting to a place, and I have a goal for the New York City Marathon 2024 to go sub 3 hours, and then a massive goal that I won't talk about in January of 2025. And so this year I'm going to conquer running, and I will no longer be a triathlete that just struggles to run. It will be my strongest of the 3 by the time I do New York this year.
Oh, love it. Working on weaknesses. So we're both pole vaulters, still competing and training nationally, and we love to understand how to break down a training cycle and see what our weak points are and improve those. So it's crazy to me that you can do 50 and 50 and then 100 and 100 and still be working on conquering running, which is, it's impressive that after the injuries that you've suffered and everything, you still have decided, I'm going to work on this weakness after the accomplishments that you've had. So amazing inspiration on that. And I'm excited to see that. Now we know how to follow that and see what's going to go on with there. So 6 miles in the morning at pedestrian pace is probably still better than most. And just like you started off this day. So let's go with day 1, and tomorrow's day 1 for 6. So I'm excited I'll be thinking about that tomorrow when I'm loading a trailer full of junk in this real estate remodel we're doing.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, I started my career. I did a ton of sprints, a ton of Olympics. Really worked on my speed. My strength was way up. I was loving the support, the sport. Excuse me, and then started doing halves. Got into fulls, went to Kona, did the world championships, and then started doing these ultra endurance world records. And it's a very different type of training. It's a different ask on your body. You have to go much slower. And so a lot of people didn't follow my career, rightfully so, at the beginning half, where I had speed and athleticism and was winning races. And they only know the Iron Cowboy has this gift to suffer and go really slow over a long period of time. And so I'm actually really excited. I have nothing more to prove in terms of my ability to suffer and big long endurance challenges like that. I think I'm going to be 48 this year, and I think between now and 50, my fastest races are still in me. And that's one of the reasons why I want to become a very accomplished runner. I mean, it's probably less than 1% of athletes that can go under 3 hours in a marathon, and I think that's in my wheelhouse at age 48. And I don't have a single genetic advantage. I mean, I literally struggled through my first 4 mile fun run. I stumbled through my first marathon. Like it was less than pedestrian. And so to have that belief, it's only because of experiences and understanding how to train properly and proper nutrition and the importance of rest and recovery, which you guys as high level athletes have an understanding of and the importance of it. So I'm super excited to again showcase some athleticism and speed over the next couple of years. And I finally feel fully recovered from the 50 and the 100 and the damage that I did. Obviously they're not intelligent pursuits. Um, I mean, they've changed my life, but in terms of like health and wellness and overall, and they're not good. It's not a good idea.
Well, yeah, it's so interesting to see how you've grown as an athlete from doing the 4 mile fun run to doing, these the triathlons and now a marathon, and how you continue to set goals along the way. And like you said earlier, by doing more, you also believe that you're capable of more. And when you committed to the Conquer 100, you weren't fully trained, but you bet on yourself to, okay, I'll get prepared in the first 50 days, and then I'll finish strong. So it's cool to see how life is dynamic. You keep adapting through life and setting new goals for yourself. And approaching 50, I love to hear that, because I feel like a lot of people they shy away from those sorts of physical challenges as they age. So it's really inspiring to see someone keep pursuing those physical challenges and also believe that they're capable of being their best self.
Yeah, I think people use their age as an excuse. And in my opinion, it's just an opportunity to continue to refine. And I think there's even more of an opportunity for me to excel now because I'm just comparing myself against me and who I can become. And I'm definitely more financially stable than I was in my 30s. I'm definitely more advanced in my mental toughness and ability to navigate a lot of those things. And so I think I'm in a position in a situation now where I have an opportunity based on all my experience to become a better athlete. And I truly don't want to limit what my potential is. And I've just found that I have I just love it. I love doing it. It's who I am. I love the feeling of being in shape and going out and coming in under the radar and dominating some competition where they wouldn't expect you to. Especially as you get older, you come in under the radar. And it's a lot of fun to come in as an underdog and still be able to perform really well.
Yeah, I can relate with that story a lot. The underdog, I've never been seeded very highly, but I've always been able to perform above my seed and then make some U.S. teams. So I really that knocks home with me. But outside of triathlon, what is the most memorable sports moment that you have from your own experience?
What it's the one that comes to my mind most is I had an opportunity early in 2023 to do a celebrity boxing match.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
and they gave us 6 weeks to prepare, and I was the main event, a stadium of 2,000 people, and I got to walk out to the ring with my son, holding the Conquer 100 championship belt, and then I knocked him out in 33 seconds,
Ooh,
and when
wow.
when that moment happens and the crowd erupts, like I've had a lot of really cool accomplishments in my career, from young to now, and that was the most electrifying moment I've experienced. Just really cool. There's no escape when you get inside those ropes and it's mano a mano, and you're either ready and step up to the task or you get tasked. And so it was a lot of fun. All my kids were front row, and it was a really cool experience to have. And then I'm a big golfer. I just really enjoy the sport of golf. If you notice, all the sports I do, like wrestling, triathlon, golf, they're all like individual pursuits. I love the fact that like I can't get bailed out, and if I win or I lose, it's my fault.
Mhm.
Uh, there's just nobody else to look to, and so I just had some really cool moments on the golf course, just not at a high competitive level, but it's a very difficult sport, and to control your emotions and to pull certain shots off at certain times, and so there's just been some great moments for me there too. And then back to my wrestling days. I started out knowing nothing about wrestling, fell in love with it, and ended up going undefeated my senior year and representing my province at the national championships in Canada, which was huge for me. And I think I learned a lot about myself, and that was the beginning stages of my mental toughness. Was those days of wrestling where, again, there's nowhere to run, and if you get stuck, that's on you. And I always looked at those moments as an opportunity to refine my skill set, see how I could get better. And then, like I said, I had an amazing senior year and went undefeated. And I was really, really, really proud of that season, and that set me up for just a different belief system that I had.
Yeah, wow. And something like that too, it's you are so resilient. And I was wondering, was there one moment in time where it was just so impactful to really shape your mentality? But just from listening to you and hearing your whole story, it seems like just this resiliency, it's really just built up over time, just from your early career and through the triathlons and pushing yourself physical limits. Is there, and I'm sure there are days that you wake up and you may not want to train, or
Every day.
every day.
Every day. That's the biggest misconception. People are like, oh, you just must love to do it. And I'm like, no, I hate it. Like, getting started is one of the hardest things to do. Like, I still have the cold plunge today, and I should have done it this morning, and I'm putting it off, and I'm just like, son of a gun. And like, but it's the easiest 3 minutes, but it's like the anticipation of doing it. Getting started is always the hardest thing. But back 2 seconds, your question kind of was like, was there a moment that I recognized mental toughness? And it's not, it's over a long period of time of gaining that knowledge, gaining that experience. The moment comes when you realize you can flip a switch, and you can take it to another level, and you can control your mind, and you really are in control. But it takes a lot of little wins and losses and learnings and adjustments and tweaks, and to get to that point where you're like, I understand now, this is how to flip that switch, and when I can and can't do it, and when I need to or not need to do it. But it's not a moment. There was never a big moment. It's just like I say all the time, the secret to success is doing a lot of little things consistently over a long period of time. And then there's that moment, that overnight success, right? That overnight mental success, that capacity where you understand, okay, now I know I'm in full control. I get to flip the switch whenever I want. And that's really the recognition, is over time developing the skill set by doing a lot of little things. And then all of a sudden it goes off and you're like, I am in control of the switch.
I've got a couple of questions here that I want to get to, but what is your most memorable defeat or failure?
It's so hard for me to answer this question because I don't associate with any defeat or failure, because there's simply opportunities for me to learn, adjust, and get better. So from the outside looking in, day 18 of the 100, I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was 106 degrees outside, and I lost concentration. I fell asleep on my bike and I crashed. And the following day, we're in Mississippi. It was hurricane conditions, massive weather warnings. No one was allowed to go outside. Incredible lightning storms, like I've never seen the sky light up like this before. And so we were pushed inside, and we were doing something that nobody in the world had done before. There was no like roadmap to success to do this. And so we jumped on we did the bike on a watt machine and calculated our watts and our weight and covered the 112, and nobody had a problem with that. And we jumped on a treadmill, and my hip was really bothering me from the crash. And we had used an elliptical a lot in training because it simulates running really well, but it lowers the impact. So for a few miles, we jumped on elliptical, and we took a picture at the end of the day and posted it online. Well, the internet blew up on us, and they were like, you cheated, you're a failure, go home, this doesn't count. We were 19 days in, they're like, the 50's over. And I was, at the time I was like, oh man, that sucks, I totally screwed up, I'm a failure, I'm a loser. And then I'm like, no man, screw you, you don't have no idea what we're going through and what this takes, and the objective is to raise money for the childhood obesity epidemic, and we're going to continue on. I don't care. Like, I'm sorry if you think we screwed up, but that's not the point of this isn't a world record. We're just doing this to make an impact and see what we're capable of. And so I was glad I had that shift. So from the outside looking in, That would be one of those moments that you're talking about. That was a failure and whatnot. But it's turned into a massive opportunity for me because now from stages around the world, I've spoken in 56 countries. And from stage, one of the main principles I talk about is to not allow someone else's opinion of 0.24% of your journey impact how you proceed. And the 0.24% represents the amount of time I spent on the elliptical compared to the 7,030 miles we covered that year. And so it was simply someone else's opinion of what we were doing. And you find in today's day and age that like people are so impacted by what other people think that they're doing when they're sitting on a couch projecting that what they wish they were doing on you, the person that's in the arena fighting, getting punched in the face, taking that left hook, the right hook, the uppercut, the roundhouse, and making decisions as you go through it. And so there's a great example of, from the outside looking in, it was a failure, but to me, I learned a lot from that. And from day 19 to day 50, we got stronger, we got better. I didn't give the public any ammunition to us doing something wrong in their eyes. And so that I took that moment and it made me stronger. And then really the 100 was born because I wanted to redo the 50 and do it better and remove this self-imposed asterisk from the 50. And so it was a massive career dice roll for me to redo or to tackle the 100, because if I don't make it past 50, then I'm validating everybody, those individuals in that camp that said, well, you didn't do it. And then they're going to say, well, we told you couldn't do it. And because you didn't do it the first time, where we never had that belief. And so that was a mistake that we made, that we owned up to, that we never hid, we never buried, and didn't allow it to derail us. And it's just been this massive lesson to me, my team, my family, my kids, that it's an opportunity to learn and grow and become better. And it's someone else's opinion of your journey. And we never registered that as a world record. It's never been that. The public has told us that it is, because no one's been able to do it. And then that was a huge driver to do the 100, was to reset my own history, to do it to perfection, to remove that. And not only did we make it past the first 50 days, we doubled it and we did 100. Just to put a final stamp on, I am who I said I was, and my team is who they are. And together we are the Iron Cowboy.
That's huge.
Incredible. Yeah. Yeah. The self-motivation behind the own asterisks. Cause yeah, everybody has doubters. Everybody has somebody who wants to chirp and troll on the sidelines and just kind of talk because they're talking. And it's amazing when you can really switch that around and fuel your own fire with that, because it truly is a better way to handle any scenario that doesn't go perfectly as planned. Life isn't all sunshine and roses all the time. It's what you make of it, as you say. And so today's day one. How do you want it to go? I still like that from the very beginning of this. So it literally is day one of 2024, but all these examples are day one of the next day after that failure, after that, not failure, but opportunity to change and grow. So the growth is, it comes back to our message of how sport fuels life and what you're really working towards. So, but I'll let you ask, and I have another question.
You go ahead.
All right. So you've got so many different goals over time. We're looking to start a family here in the next couple of years. Dad strength, is it true?
That's a good one.
Did you say dad strength?
Dad strength, yeah. Is it a real thing? Is it physical when you have kids? Is it more mental, emotional when you have the connection? Are you looking to inspire them? Is it a thing? And how can you, I guess, provide an example or pull from something of that it is or is not?
And I think there's like good old boy farmer strength. I think there's old man strength. And that's just a genetic gift that I don't think I got. There's just some guys that they just latch onto you, and they've got some power, and they've never hit the gym. It's just that old man strength. And you'll see a lot in farmers, just because they're just so like everything is hands on. I've got 4 daughters, and it takes more emotional strength. It takes more mental strength. There's zero physicality to it. It's more empathy, love, compassion, communication, all of those things. That takes a different level of strength outside of physical. and it's just been an amazing journey. We're actually on the other end of what you guys are um, talking about. I mean, my oldest daughter is getting married this month.
Congratulations.
And my second daughter is probably getting married in the fall. And then my third daughter is a senior and is a guarantee as soon as she graduates, she's going on an adventure. And so within 12 months, I'm going to go from 5 to 2. And then my youngest is 4 years from being a senior. And then it's over. And so I'm just trying to enjoy every last minute that I have with these kids. And parenting doesn't stop when they leave the nest. And we've got a very close tight knit family. And that was one of our goals as we became new parents, was to just support them in any capacity, not project our dreams on them, but allow them to have their own dreams, and just to be somewhat of a guiding light and a grounding post for them. As they navigate this world as they see fit and chase down their passions and their dreams. I think one of the greatest gifts we can do as parents is to teach our kids to dream, and to not stifle that creativity that you see a lot happening, especially in schools and whatnot. Dreaming is the greatest gift that we can have, and at some point in time, you see adults forget how to dream, and kids are natural dreamers, and I love to see that all my kids dream big, and I think it's a product of their environment, and they saw me and my wife Sunny, and we continue to dream, and we continue to execute and live those dreams, and our kids see that firsthand, and so I'm excited for you guys to go down that road, that path. It's just such a great gift to have kids, and a lot of people are like, it's not for me. I'm like, great, it's not for you. But I think if you're thinking about it, do it, because you're going to learn so much about you by having these kids. Unconditional love and patience and patience. All these things that are just gifts. You learn about yourself, and you have to continue to refine your skills, and you're never going to be ready. And so don't wait to be ready to have kids. They come out and they don't do anything. They cry, they eat, and they poop. And, and as they grow, you grow as parents to match their needs. And so you'll never be ready. And that's why the kids come out and are babies, because you will grow as they grow. As parents, you'll grow together.
Yeah, that's life, and that's even just the way that you've taken on these other challenges. It just say yes before you know you're ready, and you'll just figure it out. But it sounds like you're definitely a family man, and I'm sure you've been a huge inspiration to your kids and your family. So I guess when you do these huge challenges, it's not only proving it to yourself, but it's showing them, it's being an inspiration to your loved ones. And I know that you've also linked some of these efforts to charity. Would you be able to share some of those charities that you've helped out with all of your incredible athletic accomplishments?
Yeah, for sure. And it hasn't just been, our kids watching myself do the challenges and Sunny support me as I'm doing them. They've been involved the entire way in terms of helping me train and going on the races and trips and challenges with us, selling the merchandise and being centerpieces of all of it. They've just loved learning how to communicate with adults and be engaged and do these hard challenges, and watching mom and dad suffer and not making excuses and continue to show up. And so it's just been one of the greatest gifts. And I believe the challenges that we've done have molded our kids into who they are. And they now show up in their lives with excitement and seeking adventure and growth. They don't shy away from the difficult path. I compare my kids right now to a lot of the other kids who's ultimately their competition in terms of jobs and school and all that. And I've got so much confidence in them because of what they've been through and the choices that they've made, and the realizations that they've had. They're just resilient kids now, and it's not by accident. It's because we've done this as a family together, and it's developed those skill sets that they now have to go into the real world and tackle it. And I'm legit not worried at all. We have 4 really strong daughters, in terms of like mental capacity and belief in themselves and discipline. And then my son too, he's the same way. He's a go-getter, and I can see him working through problems in his mind and wanting to overcome them. And it's just a lot of fun as a parent to be on this journey with them together.
And
What
being
was what was the back half of that question?
Oh, yes, Family Man, and then charities. I know
That's
that you've done.
Charities for sure. So during the 2010 world record, we called that the Try and Give a Damn project, and we raised money for concrete dams in Africa, and we did some feeding shelters and some women's groups, and we really tried to do as much as we could to help them become self-sufficient. And then in 2012, I had 5 kids in elementary school, and the childhood obesity epidemic was in our face. I'm a little bit older than you guys, or a lot older than you guys, but I can remember when I was in school, there was 1, maybe 2 kids that were overweight. I could name them by name today, and now it's over 50% of the class. If not into a greater number, that is scary. And this is the first generation ever that the parents are slated to outlive the kids. And so I was like, we got to do something. And so in that time of my life, it was that epidemic. And so we were raising money and awareness for the childhood obesity epidemic. We partnered with the Jamie Oliver Foundation, just in terms of awareness and good eating and physical activity and all of these things. And then 6 years goes by, and we go to tackle the Conquer 100, and I've got 4 teenage girls. And the topic of sex trafficking is very prevalent and controversial, and is it happening, and who's doing what? And for us, it was very personal, and we wanted to raise money and awareness for the epidemic that's happening, where there's slaves, and it's 2024 now, and there's people that are being sex trafficked and have no idea when their suffering is going to end. And so we've raised over $1 million over the past 3 years for sex trafficking efforts and missions to eradicate what's going on. And so we really choose a charity that is relevant to our family, where we are at on our journey at that time. And if I do another big project, we'll choose a different charity that makes sense to us, that we want to try to help. There's so many great causes out there that then we want to try to have as much impact as we can. And that's why we attach a charitable effort to these big challenges that we do. They're not, yes, they're personal pursuits in terms of like, what's my capacity mentally and physically, spiritually. It's what type of example can I set for my kids and my family. It's how much hope can we give people that are suffering and are dealing with things like terminal illness and addiction and all these things. Our journey gives them hope. And then it's raising funds and awareness for a cause that's greater than us. So there's like 3, 4, 5 different reasons why we do these things. And most of them are outside of us personally.
Now, other people is such a motivating factor for me. I'm a coach as well, and I always find motivation and willingness to give my time to other people. As long as they're willing to work hard and do anything they can do to accomplish their goals, I'll give my time to them. And you certainly have given a lot of time, both for your own personal endeavors in the athletic world, for other people's awareness and other people's money and support. Let's talk about some people who have given a lot of time with and for you in your family and your team. So in that first 50 and 50, you were saying it was logistical chaos, and you were traveling, you had 4 hours of sleep, and you took your family with you every single time, right? Every single run. And was there any more people on your team, and how can you credit or what can you, I guess, credit to your family and your team for these massive endeavors that you planned for and trained for to accomplish?
Yeah, my kids have been at very different ages for each and every one of the challenges that we've done, but they've always played an integral role. And in fact, my oldest daughter now runs my entire business. She's the CEO. Everything runs through her, and we have an amazing time together. During the 2010 and 2012 world record, that was just me and my family. We were the team. We bootstrapped everything, and then for the 50. I knew that we needed help. Sonny was going to be in charge of the kids and doing something fun with them every single day. And we needed someone to do logistics and prep and course design and driving through the night. And there was just a lot more moving parts to this one. And I recruited 2 of my buddies. Casey was a second grade school teacher, and he had summers off, and that's when we were doing this. And the reason we did it in the summer was so that my kids could come. It was summer vacation. And then I had another buddy that I was coaching at the time. His name's Aaron. And he was just working at a sporting goods store. And I said, "This is going to be amazing. It's going to be so much fun. You should quit your job and you should come with us." And those two guys became the wingmen as we know it today. And it was really we call it the four horsemen. But it was me, my wife, Casey, and Aaron. And it was the four of us that made all decisions together, allowed each of us to have moments of despair and crying and wailing, and then back to task. And so really it was the four of us and then my kids. That was our team. And then once the 100 came around, we did it all in one location here around my home in Utah. And so it allowed us to expand our team. I was able to have a full-time, the therapist that worked on me full-time when training was now able to be there the whole time for the Conquer 100. So that was in addition to the team. And then we had the film documentary crew and a lot of moving parts. And as we were struggling and trying to navigate 100 consecutive Ironmans, people just started to show up from our community and inject themselves and be part of the team. They recognized where a hole was and said, "Hey, well, I can fill this spot. Do you need help?" We're like, "Yes, we're drowning. We need help." And so the team became more and more robust during the Conquer 100 because we were in my hometown of Utah, in Linden. And the community really started to surround us and say, "I see a need. I can fill that need." And that was one of the most inspirational parts of that. The community really came out as we were struggling to navigate the quarter of a year of 140.6 miles a day. And so that's kind of the progression of how our team has grown. And I'm still best friends with those two wingmen. Casey runs the race that we put on here in Utah called Starvation X Tri, which takes place in August. In my opinion, and I challenge anyone to challenge it, it's the hardest full distance in the United States, if not the world. And then Aaron runs our entire coaching program. So we coach athletes around the world, and Aaron's the head coach of that. And so we work together every single day still. And these two guys are brothers to me. And I'd go to battle anytime with them.
Well, it sounds like that they had no regrets quitting their jobs to go work with you. It sounds like it's been a really fun time just building this community around yourself and the business, and even having your daughter be the CEO of your company. I think that's really cool. I mean, that's just another way you can connect with her too. But
Yeah, and it was so funny because she was in school and then seeing how the real world functioned in terms of employment and whatnot, and she's just a different soul. And so when she came back to me, she said, she kind of gave me this pitch. She was like, "Hey, Dad, nobody cares about our brand like I do, and nobody will run your business like I do, and I have your best interest at mind." And she was right. And she's incredible at doing it. And it was so funny. She was like, "Look, Dad, I'm going to spend your money differently because at the end of the day, I get it." And so I was like, "Well, that's a valid point. You probably are more invested than anybody else that I could hire."
well, yeah, I mean, she's definitely invested in it, but it's very unique to see you have created such a unique life for yourself and everyone around you, and it's all built around this passion. And it just sounds like a very cool life to live. And I think a lot of people are afraid to take risks like you have and live such a cool, adventurous life, because it can be scary and it can be hard at times, but it certainly seems worth it. And then I was also going to ask about the coaching that you mentioned you do around the world. So do you have a team of coaches, or is that done virtually, or how does the coaching aspect of your business work?
Yeah, it's all done virtually. It's all done online. Aaron and I run the program. So depending on if you want to do a triathlon or if you want to just do running, just do cycling, just do swimming, we handle that. And we actually have, if anybody goes to our website, ironcowboy.com, there's a free coaching program that we have. We really want to help people. We'll give you a free sprint triathlon program. We'll give you a 5K program. We'll give you 10K. We'll give you an Olympic program. And we will help you navigate your way through it. I'm so sick and tired of athletes that are coming out that have done one race and get certified online and be like, "I'm a coach." No, you're not. You shouldn't be. And you're actually providing a disservice for people because you don't have the experience. You're actually going to hurt people, just because you understand it context, from a textbook. That doesn't mean you understand the actual application of it. And I think anybody, you don't have to come to us, but I think you should find a coach that has years of experience, not just in textbooks, but also in participation of it. Because the Ironman space is so difficult to navigate. It's a massive learning curve. And I've done close to 200 full distance races. I've done close to 100 halves. I've done countless other races. I've done multiple world championships. I've ridden my bike to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. I biked across the country. I've ran across Greece. I'm tested. Like, I challenge, I'll put my resume up against anybody in terms of experience and actually doing it. And I'm just tired of people gouging others for coaching. And so that's why I was like, look, we'll offer it for free. Now you get into half Ironmans, full Ironmans, the bigger type challenges. That's a big time commitment for us to get it right and coach you appropriately. So we'll charge a fee for that. But if you're new to the sport and you want to learn, dude, go to my website, ironcowboy.com, click on free coaching, and we'll take care of you for free.
I will do that. I did my first sprint triathlon, what was it, a year and a half ago. I didn't really train for it, and it was a sprint, but I had a blast. So it's something I would be interested in training for in the future.
Yeah, and there's just so much. I mean, you guys know this as coaches and as athletes. You go online and you hear something and you're like, what? And there's just so much information that's bad out there at this time. But on the flip side of that coin, there's a ton of great information too. And that's the problem. How does the newest member of the community navigate what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's accurate, what's not? And I just don't know. And then you toss your hands up in the air and you go, I don't know, I'm not going to do it anymore. And so, again, you don't have to come coach with us. All I'm saying is find a reliable source, and whatever that is, stick to it. Stop jumping around and looking, because you will find an egg is good for you and an egg is bad for you. Well, which one do you believe? Well, you got to have your own experience as to why an egg is either good or bad for you, right? And it's the same way in terms of like pole vaulting. There's got to be a ton of conflicting information out there. Well, you guys, I guarantee you have coaches that you trust that have done it for a long period of time and understand the nuances of doing that specific event. It's not someone that just went online and got certified about pole vaulting and is trying to teach you how to do it. They've probably done it.
Thinking of somebody doing online cert for pole vaulting is funny.
That's
because
scary.
There's so
Scary.
Right.
so few.
Right. And just like an Ironman, like you're taking someone's life into your hands. Like you're telling me you're going to give them the confidence to go swim 2.4 miles in the open ocean water, and then bike 112 miles and then finish your race with a full marathon run. You got to get nutrition right. You got to get your mindset right. You got to get your belief system right. You got to get your strength training right. You got to get your swim, your bike, your run. This is not a try sport. There's 6 modalities that you got to get right, that unless you have the experience to navigate someone through that, like, stop it. Just because you got certified on Ironman.com doesn't mean you should be coaching someone. And someone may call me an arrogant prick. I don't care. I can back it up with a ton of massive experience, time tested on the battlefield. And I'm not for everybody. I'm not telling you that I'm the end all be all. I'm just saying be careful with who you go and seek information from, because I don't think everybody should be coaching, especially if you've got a certificate.
No, we can
Agreed.
agree with that. Yeah. And if people are interested in learning more about your background and history, they can read all about it in your book. You have sitting there on the stand behind you, Iron Cowboy. So what's the best place to pick up Iron Cowboy?
Yeah, the book's called Redefine Impossible, and it's a story of the 50 and our autobiography, how we got to that moment. You can grab that on Amazon or on our website, ironcowboy.com. Any orders that come through our website, I can sign those personally, get those out to you. But I'm super excited. Our next book is done. It's at the publishers right now, and it's called Iron Hope. Now, it's not going to come out for a little bit because they like to take the time, but we're looking at early 2025 for that. But what's super exciting and coming up is we are releasing the new documentary from the 100. So there's a current documentary about the 50 on Amazon Prime. It's on Peacock. It's on Apple TV. And the new documentary from the 100, It is remarkable. I'm super excited about it. And it is going to be a private showing at Sundance here in Utah, Sundance Ski Resort. on March 27th, and then it'll hit the streaming platforms. And so I'm super pumped about that. It's been 3 years in the making. But I truly believe the impact that our new book, Iron Hope, and the new documentary, The Iron Cowboy, is going to be significant.
Well, we'll definitely have to check that out. I would love to personally check it out and get inspired. So that's really neat that you've got that coming out. And then I guess as far as closing notes, so we've talked about a lot today and we've heard a lot about your story. Is there any piece of advice that you would offer up to someone who is maybe looking for that next challenge in life, or they feel, I guess, looking into the new year? I know we talked about that you don't do New Year's resolutions, but I guess if someone is looking to continue to grow personally, or just personal development one way or another, what would be something that you could offer up to them to maybe just keep growing as a person?
Yeah, basically the recognition that you're going to suck when you start, and to not care one bit about what anybody says on how you're showing up, because really the hardest thing is to do a start, and like we talked about earlier, you're never going to be ready, and so the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago or right now. And so you should just start now, and you should not care what anybody thinks, because I guarantee you 5-10 years from now, everybody's going to still be doing the same things, except for those individuals that start taking action. And so the two biggest things is don't care what anybody thinks and start now. Because you're not going to be the expert. And unfortunately, social media is amazing and it's a great tool, but it's paralyzing people with fear, based off comparisons that were self-imposing. And you go on social media and everybody's the coach and everybody's the expert, and we just did a rant or I just did a rant on that. But in terms of, like, it's paralyzing people from starting. And from stage, I put up a picture of me in my very first triathlon. I'm in a pool, I'm wearing a nose plug, I'm literally gasping for air. I'm learning how to swim in that moment, and nobody would have looked at that person and said that's the guy, because I wasn't yet. And I had the courage to suck in that moment, recognizing that it was going to be a journey. And I'm so grateful that I was in that pool with that nose plug, learning how to do that, not caring what anybody thought, because it has changed my life, because I continued to show up and grind every single day, and took responsibility that, like, nobody's coming. If it's going to happen, it's going to be on me. And so start now and don't care what anybody else thinks. If you can do those two things, you'll succeed.
I love that. And that is so much easier said than done. Just kind of like you said, social media, people care so much about what they think, but you have to realize that you want that change and you want to become that better version of yourself, better or more than you are afraid of what other people will think. And if you don't get that experience by trying, you don't get to build those years of resilience that we talked about, that you just gain from experience over time of just trying. Get out there and do it.
Yeah, it was really cool. On my run this morning, I start with like just motivational quotes and just rambling on. And I don't know who it was, because I couldn't see the video as I was listening to it, but they said, on your deathbed, there's going to be a lot of ghosts around you, and those ghosts are adventures and intuitions, that you didn't take action on, and they're standing there letting you know what it could have been like. And the goal in life is to get to your deathbed with no ghosts, and to have thrown everything against the wall and thrown everything in the arena and given it everything you've got. And I think if everyone can adapt to that mentality, you're going to get to your deathbed with no regrets, recognizing that you listened to those intuitions, you took action when you had it, and you left no stone unturned in terms of adventure and experience and knowledge. Because at the end of the day, that's all we're going to take with us. It doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter what you've accumulated. We all turn into dust. And I believe that we're spiritual beings, and we are left with our mind and our thoughts. And the thought of not living to our fullest potential and not reaching our greatest heights, I think that's what hell is. Living with the knowledge that we just didn't show up, we didn't take action, we didn't move when we should have, and then meeting all those ghosts. I think that'd be a terrible moment.
Wow. What a way to start the year.
I'll close up with
Let's go.
One final quick question. During the Ironmans, do you prefer to be in your own mind, or do you prefer to listen to music or podcasts or books?
Yeah, so during races, you can't do any of them. And that's why it's so important to forgive yourself for your past and have the ability to dream, because you are stuck with your own thoughts. And we have the most amount of conversations with ourselves. And that's why people ultimately aren't successful, because they can't navigate those conversations during times of despair and struggle and difficulties in endurance racing, and they eventually pack it in. But on training days, I definitely try to occupy my mind. I try to multitask. I try to educate myself. I always start out with some inspiration, and it turns on my creative juices. It gets me going. In the middle section, I'll do like an audiobook. I'll try to learn something, and then to finish, some good high energy music. And then sometimes that middle section will also be in silence. I take the opportunity on my long runs, long rides to dream. That's my creative time. That's my zen. That's my whatever it is. And so that's kind of how I structure my training. I'll always do motivation, education, and then pump up. And sometimes the middle part will be in silence. Just learning how to be comfortable with that conversation that I'm having with myself, learning how to manage those voices in my head. Because ultimately that's going to dictate your success or your failure, is your ability to communicate with yourself. And I promise you, you wouldn't be friends with anybody that talked to you the way that you talk to yourself. And if that's truth, then the conversations we're having with ourselves are the most important conversations you're going to have.
Well, you hear it now. If you want to join a 6 mile run with James Lawrence tomorrow to focus on dreaming, he'll be out there in the morning. So put on the running shoes, get out in the morning tomorrow,
Get that
everybody.
inspiration.
Get some inspiration and start focusing on how to talk to yourself to better prepare yourself for the future. No, we love it. Thank you so much, James, for being here on Sport Fuels Life podcast with us today. And yeah, been a wonderful conversation for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't thank you enough for joining us today.
Well, thanks, Scott. Thanks, Megan. And good luck with your pole vaulting pursuits. What level are you guys at? Are we talking Olympics here? What are we doing?
Yeah, we're both going for the 2024 trials, so it's
Yes.
a year for us.
Yeah.
I love that. That's super exciting. Okay, I'm going to be watching out for you guys. I'm a big Olympics guy. Love watching it. So I'm rooting for you, and good luck in that pursuit.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you, and we'll be watching you as well. Good luck in that marathon.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a great holiday.
All right, thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.